Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a genuinely beautiful, timeless story that hits right at the very foundation of human connection and trust. It's all about a young boy named Leo. His seemingly simple, everyday mistake actually leads to this huge, profound realization about honesty, character, and just how fragile trust really is. If you've ever, struggled with the temptation to take the easy way out of a tough spot, well, the hidden lesson in this story is absolutely going to resonate with you.
Okay, let's dive into this. Think about it for a second. Have you ever told a small lie just to avoid getting into trouble? I mean, it's pretty much a universal human reflex, right? When we're backed into a corner, when we know we've messed up, our brain's instant instinct is just to protect itself. We tell ourselves, hey, a tiny fib, a little white lie, it's not going to hurt anyone, and it might just get us out of a really sticky situation. And honestly, that is exactly the mindset our main character is grappling with right at the start.
So I want you to meet Leo. He's described as a really kind boy living in a quiet little village. And fundamentally, he's a good kid. But just like so many kids, and actually, scratch that, so many adults too, he has this one very relatable flaw. He sometimes finds it way easier to just tell a small lie to avoid getting into trouble. It's not that he's malicious or anything. He just prefers to avoid conflict and disappointment whenever he can. Totally relatable.
But man, things escalate incredibly quickly on this one specific afternoon. It starts off totally normal. Leo's just playing near his grandfather's old workshop. But then, crash. He accidentally knocks over one of his grandfather's beautiful handcrafted wooden boxes. The whole thing just shatters into pieces all over the floor. And right there, sitting in the wreckage, a shiny, vintage golden key falls out. In literally seconds, Leo goes from carefree playtime to absolute sheer terror. He knows exactly how much his grandfather loved that box. Fear just creeps right in, and his mind immediately goes into overdrive.
And this brilliantly illustrates the crushing weight of the dilemma he's suddenly trapped in. He has option A, blame the cat. He literally thinks to himself, I can just say the cat knocked it down, right? It's the easy way out. It completely avoids immediate trouble. But then there's option B, tell the truth. And that guarantees he has to face his grandfather's disappointment head on. Just imagine that internal freeze. He's staring down at those broken pieces, his heart is pounding out of his chest, and he's feeling the immense, heavy pressure of this choice just bearing down on him.
Right at that agonizing peak of indecision, his grandfather walks into the room. He sees the shattered box on the floor, but instead of yelling or losing his temper, his face just fills with this deep sadness. He looks down at Leo and asks this simple, gentle question. Leo, do you know what happened here? You see, his tone isn't angry at all. It's gentle, but it is heavy with sorrow. And for Leo, looking up into those sad eyes while standing over the broken pieces, it makes his heart race even faster. The pressure to lie, to just make that sad look vanish by shifting the blame, is just incredibly strong. But in that heavy, agonizing silence, a memory suddenly surfaces. Leo remembers these incredibly powerful words his mother once told him. A lie might save you for a minute, but the truth will protect you forever. Let that sink in for just a second. It is such a stark, brilliant contrast. The short-term instant relief of blaming the cat might save his skin for the next 60 seconds. But the long-term, enduring protection of his character and his bond with his grandfather, that can only be secured by the truth. Let's move to and see how this actually builds into action. Because, honesty isn't just something that passively happens to us. It is an active, courageous, step-by-step process. Step 1, Leo took a massive, deep breath. He literally had to physically ground himself in that moment of sheer panic. Step 2, he swallowed his fear. The terror was absolutely still there, no doubt about it, but he chose not to let it drive his actions. And finally, step 3, he admitted his fault. It takes real, genuine courage to actively push through those steps when every single instinct in your body is screaming at you to just run away. Here is exactly what he says, stepping fully into that courage. Grandfather, I am so sorry. I was playing recklessly and I knocked it over. It was my fault. Wow. This is a stunning, direct admission of guilt. And notice what's missing here. There's no mention of the cat, no excuses, nothing. He entirely bypasses that initial desperate urge to invent a story, and he just takes full, unmitigated responsibility for his careless actions. So after that confession drops, a painfully quiet moment passes. Leo is fully bracing himself for punishment, but then we get this entirely unexpected resolution. To Leo's sheer surprise, a warm smile actually spreads across his grandfather's face. The older man walks right over, places a really reassuring hand on Leo's shoulder, and reaches down to pick up that fallen golden key. Instead of the anger or the harsh scolding Leo was terrified of, he is met with this incredible, beautiful display of grace and support. Now, what's really interesting about this is what that vintage key actually belongs to. His grandfather speaks softly and explains that yes, while the wooden box was old and precious, the golden key inside it opens his secret library up in the attic. He tells Leo about this hidden promise he made to himself a long, long time ago. He promised he would only ever give this key to someone who values honesty above fear. By choosing to tell the hard truth in a moment of sheer terror, Leo unlocks something far, far greater than he ever could have imagined. The grandfather hands the key over, and he offers this beautiful piece of wisdom that perfectly contrasts the material world with our human character. He points out that sure, Leo broke a wooden box. Wood is fragile, yes, but wood can be repaired, it can be replaced. However, by telling the truth, Leo proved his heart is honest. Lost trust, unlike broken wood, is extremely hard to rebuild. It's just a brilliant reminder for all of us. We naturally fixate on the physical mistakes we make, but the true, lasting damage usually happens to our relationships when we try to cover those mistakes up. Building and keeping trust, that's the real work.
So, the crucial point is found right here, in the moral of this whole fable. From that day forward, Leo realized that speaking the truth might feel completely terrifying and difficult at first, but it ultimately yields these incredible lifelong rewards. It brings freedom because, hey, you no longer have to keep track of a stressful web of lies. It brings respect, both from the people around you and, just as importantly, for yourself. And it brings real peace of mind. Honesty requires immense courage in the heat of the moment, for sure, but truth always, always builds trust and brings true, lasting rewards.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer today, and I want to leave you with this lingering, provocative thought. When was the last time you had to choose courage over comfort to protect a relationship? Leo's heroic journey wasn't about fighting dragons or monsters. It was about fighting his own internal fear to preserve the deep trust between him and his grandfather. So take this lesson with you. Keep it in your back pocket. And remember the golden key the next time you find yourself caught between a comforting lie and the courageous truth. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep pursuing the truth.